everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Collaborative Show. I'm your host for the day, and my name is Pallabi. I'm a dentist who's now into health tech marketing. And today I have a guest with me who is probably one of my favorite mentors of TCOL. Sorry to the other mentors, but yeah, so this is someone who has conducted a lot of sessions for us, especially when it comes to LinkedIn Live, and she is an excellent communicator. She always, insists that we call her by her name and not add ma'am at the end of it. She's joining us from Australia, and why don't you guys let us know where you're joining in from so that I can, probably wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening accordingly. Hi, Vandana. How are you doing?
So sorry, Pallavi, I couldn't hear you. If somebody can remove me and add me back again.
Oh, okay. So is audio an issue? I am I audible now?
I don't hear you.
Okay.
Now,
Why don't you? All right. Okay. Perfect. Awesome. So yes, I was just asking the viewers where they're joining in from because that would help us wish them a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening accordingly.
perfect.
And in case you guys are joining in from India, I can assure you that you're going to have a great day ahead because today we're talking about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So, Vandan, I would just like to ask you, do you think there is a difference between fear and anxiety? I mean, I know that there is a difference, but just to break it down for our viewers, what do you think of it? Do you think both can be overcome?
That's a great question, Pallavi. And I can see the confusion. A lot of both the terms are closely associated, but they're not
Right.
interchangeable. So
Yes.
fear is hardwired within us.
Hmm.
It was there. It's derived from, it's generated from a region in our brain called the amygdala. So it's
Right.
there in us.
Mhm.
It's there to keep us safe. It's there for our survival, so that we can predict the danger. We know, we are able to respond and
Mhm.
bring about those reflexes in us. So fear is,
Right.
it now, but the anxiety is something that's created by the mind of a
Mhm.
perceived danger. It's not a real threat. There's no real threat, but there's something that we think and imagine is going to injure us or harm us in a certain way, and that creates a lot of anxiety. Now,
Right.
about fear, it can subside after the event has happened. So fear
Mhm.
is emotion which gets generated by the body, a biological response, which can
Right.
subside after the event has happened. But that's not true
Mhm.
for anxiety, because anxiety is something we've created ourselves. We can hold on to it for as long as we want to, and it keeps us from experiencing life completely. So there's a
Right.
difference between fear and anxiety.
Right.
To second
Mhm.
part of your question, which was
Mhm.
how can we overcome it? Now, I always do ask myself that question as well. That is it a valid question? Do you want to overcome it?
Mhm.
The response is, how do we better manage it? Because fear, as I said, it's generated from within our body, so it's there, it exists. So we need to be able to feel the fear, to
Right.
accept it, allow it, and then
Mhm.
to go about doing our things. So we can talk about how we can look at overcoming the sense of fear that is generated, and how we can
Mhm.
manage ourselves better, and how we can still respond in a way that brings about the best in us. So whenever there is, whenever there's a change, whenever there's a struggle, whenever there's a lot of attention, or whenever
Mhm.
there's a challenge, there's fear. So if you look at it from the olden days, like back in humanity, all of these things existed because we had to keep ourselves safe, and all of
Right.
these
Right.
change, uncertainty, lack of
Mhm.
knowledge, what's going to happen, the struggle, all of those things existed, and they had real life danger. But the wonderful era that we are living in now, we don't have as many true threats, like a real physical danger.
Yeah.
But
Mhm. Agree.
with the anxiety in ourselves, in us, we've started
Mhm.
creating those fears. And
Right.
the brain is, the part of the brain which generates fear doesn't know that how to distinguish between a good challenge and a bad challenge. It just
Mhm.
evokes the same response every time. So
Right. Right.
what we can do is to be able to take a step back, like really breathe and
Mhm.
understand, start recognizing the signals that the body is giving us. That yes, I know I'm sensing fear. I'm realizing that I'm sensing fear. That means there is an uncertainty. That means there is some change. That means there's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but that's okay. I know why I'm here and what I'm going to achieve from this task or whatever is happening. And then going about and doing your best. That's how I see how we can manage or overcome fear.
That's a great tip. So, when you were talking about amygdala, it just took me back to high school science. And so I was a biology student. I mean, obviously, that's how I became a dentist. But yeah, so reading about the brain, it really used to fascinate me. How the amygdala, it perceives danger. And like you said, we don't know how to distinguish between a good challenge and a bad challenge. So the same fight or flight response gets activated, irrespective of the nature of the challenge.
Mhm.
And while living with anxiety is obviously it's crippling, and there are so many things that a person who has an anxiety disorder, they probably want to experience, but they're not able to because of different issues that are probably, I mean, they're not to be blamed for that. So but fear of failure is something that I think can be overcome, like you said, to accept it and to work on it, to face it and to do it anyway. So that brings me to my next question. The first step in this process, what do you think it should look like? So like you said, if I let's say I'm afraid of what my next step is going to result in, like a cause and effects kind of situation. So let's say if I'm supposed to do step A, and but I'm scared that okay, this could either lead me to path B or path C, and I want only one of them. So how do I begin? How do I start?
Hmm. Again, another great question. um, because this is what you just said. It's the fear of the unknown. You don't
Right.
know what it's going to result in. And all of us, I'm sure all our viewers watching, all of us go through situations in life where we don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So so there are two aspects to it. So I'll walk through the first one. First of all is if you are in that situation right away when you are feeling anxiety, at that point in time, the first reaction should be to know, to recognize that you're feeling it, and then just to stop and like take a really deep breath. What that does is it brings you right back in present. It takes you out of your head and brings you in present. And what you just did, the smile, another way to be able to smile and just look at the situation of what it is, accepting where you are and doing what you can best do by tapping into your own power, your own resourcefulness, whatever that is and however that leads you to. That's when you're in the situation. Now, going back, and if you are supposed to participate, say, in a public speaking event, like suppose we were about to get in the interview, and which we had knowledge of before, and the anxiety that's getting created before. So, how to deal with that? So, the best thing to do is to know what your purpose of that event or activity is. What are you trying to achieve out of it? What's the bigger purpose? Why did you first of all get yourself in this situation? There had to be a certain set of things or events that happened to bring you to where you are right now, and for you to have signed up for that. So what was it? What made you do it? So become very clear about that step. And then second is to become aware that what you're afraid of, what's the next thing that you can do that's generating fear in you. What's that next
Right.
thing? And then recognizing that is it something that's really happening or is it something that I'm imagining? And if I overcome it, where is that going to lead me? So if you start asking those questions, you see there's just benefits of overcoming it. There's just it's going to make you move forward. So you have to
Yeah.
ask yourself that question, that this thing that I'm afraid of, what is it going to give me? And then third is to actually commit to doing it, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Because all of us realize that, the first time you stood on stage and spoke, and every single time you did something that made you uncomfortable, brought you closer to getting better and to become your best version. So you have to
Right.
give yourself that permission to be able to take that step and feel the fear and do it anyway. Because in that process, you'll get to know yourself better. You'll get to know what truly challenges you, what things you value, and maybe you don't like it, but until and unless you really do it, you'll never find out. You'll never know whether you like it or not. So give yourself a chance and then move on. Yeah.
Agreed, agreed. So, this was just making me think about social anxiety, which is something that I sometimes face. I mean, even though I'm mostly an extrovert, but there are times when I do feel like, okay, I don't feel like meeting this particular person or talking to them. But now, because of the pandemic and because of so many people that I have connected with, I don't feel that fear anymore. Actually, I don't even feel anxious about it. So, like I said, that sometimes anxiety is something that you can't overcome with, just it's not just about the mindset, it's more than that. But like you said, taking deep breaths or just smiling and actually even talking to a loved one, hearing their voice, I think these are a few things that can help you overcome this and help you do what you're supposed to do, what you actually want to do. So uh, you said that facing the um, facing these challenges and overcoming it, doing things anyway, this would probably help you be the best version of yourself. So, do you have any examples of times when feeling the fear and doing it anyway worked wonders for you?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. And but first of all, I like to appreciate what you just brought about, the ways you can deal with
Sure.
anxiety, you know, breathing and smiling. And the third one, which you said, was feeling the connection. It's very
Right.
important. Be able to
Yeah.
feel that connection because that's what keeps us going as humans. We want to feel connected all the time, and it can just calm us down and not agitate us further. So
Right.
good in that point. Now, about facing the fears and feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Yes. I mean, I'll give you two situations when I was feeling the fear and I gave in to the fear. And then
Yes.
situations where I faced the fear, but I decided to, manage it and overcome it and see what's on the other side of it.
Mhm.
So while growing up, I was always, very sincere, hardworking, and all of that. Those things, those values, those properties work for me. Um,
Mhm.
and I had this sense of trust and belief in myself that I can, go after things and get what I want. So in my school days, I was, I really wanted to become a cricketer. I wanted to become like a
Right.
cricketer. I did play the juniors and sub juniors nationals.
Mhm.
So, during my 10th standard, there was this big decision, or rather, everyone asks you the question, where do you want to go? Which way do you want to take your life forward?
Yeah.
And I kept saying that, yes, maybe I'll pursue engineering, but I still want to become a cricketer. I want to
Mhm.
join, the national team. And while I was doing that, I took electronics and I knew that I was going to pursue my engineering. But I had given up on the dream of becoming a cricketer on the way because I gave into the fear because it brought about a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know there was no scope of how, for women it's going to be, how the cricket world of
Mhm.
cricket is going to be. There was definite struggle because I didn't know, whether it's going to give me a comfortable life or not. And it was a change. I had not seen anyone else around me who's done that before. And I gave into the fear and I dropped the idea completely that I would want to become a cricketer. And I rather pursued engineering. And I thought, I want to become an engineer. Now, during
Mhm.
engineering, initially I took electrical engineering. And then, as I took the advice of people, my near and dear ones who meant really good things for me. So in my
Mhm.
second year, I changed the course to computer science engineering. And
Okay.
it was in midterm after we got the results of the first year. I changed my subject to computer science, and I was scared because I'd missed some part of the class. I was really like scared
Right.
of, and
Mhm.
our teacher sensed it that I'm scared of coding, and probably to get me involved or included, he used to always ask me questions in the class which I could just never answer, and it made
Okay.
fear even more. Like I was even more fearful, and I had
Right, right, right.
a big fear of coding in me. And imagine that there's going to be this computer science engineer who's going to step out in the world having a fear of coding. That's what my
Coding.
is going to
Mhm.
be. And while I knew that I was always interested in working with people, but there was always this fear also within me that I'm afraid of coding. I don't want to do it. And that's when I thought that probably I should do my master's in business administration. Like I should do my MBA and not get into the coding industry at all. But something in me told me that I've run away from my first fear. I'd given into the fear, and I never pursued that dream. So I don't want to be doing the same thing again. I'm going to be running away from fear again. And that's when I decided that I want to take it up. I want, because for me it mattered. I wanted to become independent. I wanted to give myself the chance to see how I face my fears and do it anyway. So I got a camp. I got through the campus interview. I got a job, and I was so
Okay.
fearful. It was my first interview. I flunked. I flopped. Like I went up to the last round, but then when it was pure coding based interview, the fear in me
Mhm.
like just gave in. I didn't cross through. The second one I got through, and I joined HSBC, and after joining, they again had a test. As we
Okay.
ended, they again had a test, which was coding based test, and again that fear came in within me that I'm not good at
Right.
this. The dialogues we keep telling ourselves that I'm not good. This is not going to work out for me, and I failed again.
Mhm.
I didn't make it in the first test. But lucky for us, for all those who failed that test, that they knew that a lot of people feel fearful. It's not the lack of ability; it's the fear that's making them fail the test. So there was a retest,
Right.
and I got a
Okay.
second chance. So there was a retest, and in that retest, I still remember telling myself, "What made you come here? What are you here for? You want
Mhm.
to make it happen, make it work. Stop focusing on the fear. Start focusing on what all it's going to bring for you." And the
Right.
second, I got through, and then I realized that when I gave myself the opportunity, I realized that I had imagined a world way different in my head. It's not how it is.
Mhm.
It's not the kind of jobs, and a lot of people will relate with me here. What we imagine that our job is going to be versus what it actually is. There's so many aspects
Mhm.
to it. There's so many ways you can utilize your strengths. If you know what your strengths are, you can utilize your strength and still do really well in the job while you're still working on the skill. So thanks to this experience, I was always throwing
Mhm.
myself to challenging projects. I was putting myself into awkward situations which would help me learn and grow. And while there was still the fear always that am I good enough, am I giving my best, because for
Mhm.
me the fear was that I won't be able to give my best. That's what always challenged me. But I had learned how to start using the fear, start using it for my own benefit. When I felt fearful, I knew I had to put in more. I knew I had to be able to do something differently, which suits me. And without that fear, I wouldn't have been where I am. So I feel that you need to take that journey. You need to allow yourself to even know whether it's for you or not, to realize where your values are, how you want to build your life. So you have to spend time with the fear, face it,
Yeah.
overcome it, and then move on to the next one. Probably bring in more fears. So then after 10 years, so I did that. I aced computer science, 10 years of career. And then I brought in the different challenge. I
Mhm.
gave up on that career. Now I'm doing my coaching, which which is so close to my
Right.
heart. I'm
Yeah.
passionate about, but it challenges me in very different
Mhm.
ways. Things that I've never done before. There's marketing, sales, there's knowing your clients. There's learning, which I'm really, curious about, but there's also many other aspects which I've never done. But I love this dance. I call it the dance with the fear, and you just love the dance. You learn. So yeah.
Nice. That's a good way of putting it. Because like the Mountain Dew ad says, "डर के आगे जीत है." So I think everybody should embrace this fear and just do it anyway. So I would like to ask the viewers if there is an example, that you would like to cite from your life where you overcame the fear of failure and you did something anyway. Let us know in the comments. Another thing that I'd like to talk about right now is our upcoming summit, P2P Human Networking Summit. So if anyone, is interested in learning more from our mentors or just wants to put themselves out there, if they're camera shy, if they want to know how to network, I would really recommend that you join us for this event because here it's an open platform where you don't have to be you don't have to be you won't be embarrassed. Everybody's learning, we're growing together, and take a shot. So just come and join us for the event. It's on the 25th. um, right, so just to wrap up the session, I would like to ask you, Do you have any last thoughts?
I would just add on to what Pallavi said for our
Mhm.
viewers, for the summit especially. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The fact that you're watching this show, whenever maybe a replay or whenever you're watching this show, the fact that you're watching it is there's something that calls you to do it. So take that next step. Ask yourself when you feel fear. Ask yourself, what is this fear robbing me of? What am I not experiencing because I'm fearful? And when you
Right.
ask yourself the question, allow yourself to take that step, feel it, and go ahead and do it. I promise you from my personal experience, when you do it, you'll learn more about you for sure. And most of the
Mhm.
times, at least 99% of the times in my personal case, you love it. You love it. You said, thank God I did this. Because now it's giving you an opportunity to face the next fear. If you don't face this one, you'll just keep imagining what it's going to look like. So just sign up for the summit, attend it, network with people, know what it is in there for you, and take that next, keep taking those steps that make you fear, that make you feel fearful, and never even ever try to become fearless, because that's not going to happen. The fear is
Right.
going to be there. Learn to
Mhm.
accept it and learn to dance with it. That's what I'll say.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming to the show and sharing your insights with us. And I'd also like to thank the viewers. Thank you for tuning in, guys.
Thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure, Pallavi. Thank you.